think there's two different types of people in this world when it comes to preparation and packing. And my wife and I are both. It's not that I'm not drinking.
Right.
I'm just not drinking in the U.S.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I'm going
Once you get to England.
No, once I get to international air, all bets are off.
2 weeks and counting. 1 week from when this episode drops. That's insane. When this episode hits the air, I'll have 1 more week in California. We'll definitely do the British Museum. We did the British Museum. We were there for 1 day, and it was suggested that if you're going to be there for 1 day, you got to do the museum. You can't do the museum all in 1 day, but it really is amazing to walk through there and see all the things they store. My wife often says Californians speak the same, and the way we talk is in freeways, and it's true. By the way, you're going to take the 10 to the 15, and swing over to the 215, and then swing around the 210, and cross over the Cajon Pass, and brace yourself, everyone. Big Sexy's doing that travel math. That's my cue, isn't it?
It is. It's your cue. I was hovering over it. And I was like, at what point do I click this? And he clicks it at the same time.
I wasn't expecting the music to end with 7 seconds.
Music put you to sleep.
It's very soothing. The 30-second countdown is very soothing.
Good afternoon, where it should be for most of you guys, you big sexy world travelers. This is Judge Mentalist coming at you. That little intro, a bit of hypnotic induction music, and a countdown, which can also be part of a hypnotic induction. We are coming at you. Don't get yourself hypnotized while driving. If you listen to this while driving, hey, look, it's Big Sexy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I do hope that it is good. I really do. I really do hope that when you are listening to Big Sexy Digital Nomad, things are going good for you. And if for any reason they are not, then I hope by the time we finish, things are looking up. Things are getting better, that somehow we have brightened your day with our talk of travel and entertainment and funny stuff. Maybe funny stuff. You can tell if it's funny or not. We're just talking stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, but what's going on, man? How you been?
Whew. Busy. And it's only going to get worse because I am a week away from hopping on an airplane and heading to Egypt and now London.
Isn't that exciting?
I'm very much looking forward to it. And you know, there's two different types of people in this world when it comes to preparation and packing, and my wife and I are both of those people. And for example, her bag with checklists and all of the do I need this, do I need that, has been packed for the most part for a week now. And then there's my bag that is empty. And I will pay it absolutely no mind until probably Thursday of next week.
And you fly out?
So we fly out Friday evening. So we're scheduled to leave at 7:30 p.m. East Coast time.
Okay. And
we are scheduled to land in London 7:30 a.m. Saturday.
Okay.
Then we have a layover. We changed flights. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking that you know the answer to this question. When we're traveling internationally and we have a layover, do we have to go through customs in London, get our bag? No.
No, you do not have to get your bags. You may have to go through customs because you're landing from a foreign country.
Yeah.
You'll have to go through that customs checkpoint to go to the terminal where your connecting flight is.
Okay.
Right.
What if we fly into like A1 and we're flying out of A2?
Then you still do customs, and then once you do that, once you get through that, you'll have to go to wherever we have to go to wherever you're.
So we'll have to go out and back at least to some point. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I'm not super worried about that. I know that when I was in the process, and I know that we've talked about it, but I don't know if we've talked about it on here, that a couple weeks ago, a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, hey, on the way back, let me call American and see what it's going to be for me to take the 3-hour approximate layover and stretch that to 3 or 4 days. And then, of course, while I'm on the phone with them, I'm asking, hey, what happens to our luggage? Or is there going to be some way for us to get it? And they're like, oh, you're going to have to get it. I'm like, okay, cool. Because
if you extend it beyond that, you are exiting the plane and staying days, they will not send your luggage on without you.
Which is good, obviously, for so many reasons. Not the least.
And they may still lose it, but they won't send it on without you.
Those are dice that are in your hand every time that you print a boarding pass. So, it is what it is. That's going to be super cool. I've learned a few things in the past few days. It's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to acquire Egyptian currency while in the U.S.
Correct.
I've tried several banks, no luck. Texted a friend of mine about it, and she was like, oh, you can't get that in the U.S. I'm like, I wish I would have texted you 4 banks ago.
Right. I mean, banks aren't just carrying currency from.
Well, you got to order it. Okay. So like I went and got Great British pounds from my bank, and they showed up the very next day. So they're ordered from somewhere. But of course, this is a place that people travel to from the US and vice versa all the time.
A lot.
So then I go online, and I'm trying to find, really, I want to walk up to a place and say, here, let's do this currency exchange. And I want to avoid a ton of fees that sometimes I'm hearing and researching tells me that you'll get when you do this at like the airport. Right. And, Beer in a Backpack, who's been on the podcast several times, suggested that I take a debit card and use a local ATM. And I said, bro, I don't do debit cards. I don't trust debit cards. They are just insecure. I never take them with me. Plus, show me a debit card that gets me bonus points for using it. Now, I don't maintain balances month to month on my credit card. I treat them like debit cards. I pay them off in full, but they're safer. If there's a problem, I can dispute the charge. If it gets, compromised in whatever way, it's fixable. It's on the credit card company, not on me. Also, I don't have to worry about getting loaded up in a casino and taking, if I don't have a debit card, I can't take it to an ATM. Now, I usually have a ton of self-control and no issues with that. And we've talked about this podcast about my philosophy toward gambling, and I'm pretty good with it. It's also helpful that we are just about to the 3-month mark of me not drinking. I'm amending this, not too different than the conversation that we had with Jen. It's not that I'm not drinking.
Right.
I'm just not drinking in the U.S.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I'm going with.
Once you get to England.
No, once I get to international air, all bets are off. And I'm not saying I'm going to drink on the plane because it's a night flight and I'll probably just go to sleep. And I don't know, I'm going to be on a cruise ship with a bunch of magicians for a week. Well, for 5 days. So it's going to be really weird to not drink there. And of course, London. Yeah, that is totally going to happen. And I'm most likely going to run into Sebastian Robbins, who's reached out to me when he found out that I was extending a couple of days, because he is going to be leaving Scoop Fest and going to London for a chunk of time, because Australians seem to just travel in month chunks, or if not more, unlike us traveling a week or here and a week there. And I'm not talking about, obviously, you being a digital nomad, different story. I'm hoping to be able to meet up with him, which will be kick-ass if possible. God damn, we got a lot of people watching this stream right now for something that we didn't didn't promote. I'm going to make sure that I'm looking into the comments here to make sure anybody, hey, feel free to chat us, because I see a bunch of people in here. Obviously part of my choice to spend some time not drinking kind of stems from me and that last trip to Vegas, kind of feeling like shit, not being able to hang the way that I normally do, et cetera, and
Right.
kind of want to feel a little bit better. A little bit of it was wanting to maybe lose some weight. I'm going to be real forthcoming to say that part hasn't happened. I don't know why. I thought
the loss of weight,
like I thought that I'd start shedding pounds like a month or so in, and I have not.
Just by stopping drinking?
Yeah.
Do you exercise?
Yeah. I'm for the most part, travel schedule obviously jacks this up from time to time,
Right.
but I'm in the gym 3-4 days a week.
And how are you eating?
Unchanged.
Okay. Now,
I'm not eating worse.
Right. Now, question: Were you a heavy beer drinker?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay, and you stopped drinking beer. And have you weighed yourself recently? Have you lost 0 pounds, or is it going down slowly?
Very, very slow. And there have been times in the past where it seemed like, where I've committed myself to getting in better shape and weight loss and stopped. There was a time where I stopped drinking for probably close to 2 years, and shit just started to just fall off of me. And that was pretty much like the only significant change in that time frame. So,
well, you're also older now.
Right? Oh, so I sure as fuck am.
Yeah, your body does things a lot slower, and I understand the struggle of weight loss. I've since I've been back, I have been trying my best to not gain. My goal is just to not gain, because American food is so fatty and delicious and fattening that to not gain has been a struggle. Plus, where I live is relatively boring to walk around. So I don't have an interesting, life out when I'm walking around the streets of Spain, or, I'm not driving here much. I do have access to my mom's car occasionally, but still the walk from here to the store is just drab. It's just house and yard, house and yard, house and yard. It's like, and there's nobody out in the houses. There's no life. Whereas in Spain, it was like shop, store, restaurant, store, restaurant, store, mini shop, apartments above these things. And people were out and on the streets and walking. And then there's the sound of the sea right by wherever we're walking by. Or, if I took the train into the center, the train is full of people. Get off. There's people walking through the center. There's so much life. It made walking interesting.
Yeah.
There isn't that here. And it's sad a bit and depressing, but I had to change my walking goal. My step goal in Spain was always 10,000. I always said 10,000 is my base. 10,000, I'll try to do 10,000 steps. And I hit that goal almost every day. Almost every day. I had to change the goal to 7,000 here in California. And I don't always hit that goal. Every blue moon, I'll crack 10,000. I think yesterday I cracked 4, but it's easy to sit here in this office and work on, podcast stuff and we'll talk about this soon, because I started playing Fallout. So that has definitely killed my step count.
Yeah, that'll kill your step count for sure.
Woo, man, whoa, doggy, for real. And then I used to walk the wife to her yoga class and then back, and now we get steps in, but she's been working harder, so she leaves later. So sometimes I just have to drive her there to get her on time, so we don't end up walking, because we want to spend that time working.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are altering my step count, and I can't wait to get back to Spain to increase the step count. And 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks and counting. 1 week from when this episode drops. That's insane to me. When this episode hits the air, I'll have 1 more week in California.
And you and I are going to be spending a few days in Europe together. Well, not together, but
not together, but we'll be in the same there at the same time. Yeah. Yeah.
You get there what, the 16th?
Yes. So you do you leave in the evening and arrive in the morning. right?
Right.
We leave at night. Our flight leaves like at 9:30 at night from LAX, from Pacific, the West Coast. And we don't land in Malaga until 11:30 p.m. Thursday. 26 hours by the clock.
By the clock.
But we're crossing 9 time zones.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about a 17-hour trip. Oh, that's the math.
So
I just realized the travel math right now. It's 17-hour trip, but it's 26 hours because there's 9 time zones.
There you go.
9 plus 17 is 26. Look at that travel math. Look at me travel mathing.
Yeah, that's your travel tip.
I know we actually do talk about ICS card a lot. My thought was, brace yourself, everyone. Paul is doing Kentucky math. I want something like brace yourself, everyone. Big Sexy's doing that travel math, but not so country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get there on the calendar on the 17th, correct?
The 16th.
You leave the 16th, or you get
we leave the 15th.
Oh, okay. So you'll get there the 16th. I'll still be in Egypt. I leave Egypt on the 18th, and it's just 5 hours. I think 1 time zone, maybe 2.
Maybe.
London. So I'll be in London for the 4 days. And you'll be in Spain. So,
and it's funny. I mean, you'll be in Africa, and I'll be right across the coast.
We'll be closer to each other there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
maybe
you'll be.
I don't know how far Egypt is from Morocco.
All right, www.mapsandshit.com.
Yeah, I don't know that travel distance.
I mean, continent-wise, no, we won't.
Continent-wise, yes, I will be closer.
I'll be on the same continent as you when I get to England.
No, you will not, because England is an island.
But
I mean, okay, yes, continent-wise, yes, we will be on the same continent, but Spain is closer. Where I'm at in Spain is closer to Africa than it is to England. Yes.
All right. So,
because I can see Africa on a really clear day.
You can see Africa, but I'm going to be further east from where you are.
Right, but I cannot see Egypt.
All right, 2,200 kilometers, Malaga to London.
Okay, now Malaga to Egypt.
And Malaga to Egypt.
Drum roll.
Is 42.50. No.
Oh, so you'll be a lot closer when you get to London than you will be in Egypt.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, that makes sense. Africa's huge.
Yes.
Yeah, and Europe is also big, but it's much more straight line. Yeah. Straight up than it is down and over.
It's not just cool that we can live stream all of this stuff. The live stream is all fine and good, but being able to do what I'm about to do is
priceless, wonderful,
stupendous. Priceless, but it's definitely some next level stuff here. That is not a map that anybody can see.
You got to change the. You got to present it.
I got to put it somewhere else. Let me put it here and see what that does. This may get wonky, but it may not. Who knows? Yeah. So
there it is.
That's what we're talking about. And Big Sexy, this is a good time if you need to pick your nose or whatever, because I can't see you.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So yeah, that's to Cairo. And actually I won't even be in Cairo on the 16th. I'll be in probably somewhere between Luxor and Aswan, which is further south, so even further. Now we will fly back from Aswan to Cairo to be able to get to our flight to London.
Right.
So anybody that has tips on and suggestions for me on places to go while in London, hit us up, because obviously my trip through Egypt is pretty prescribed and kind of set up and structured and everything like that. We literally to this day have zero plan with respect to what we're going to do in London, other than we have now booked the hotel that we're staying at.
Nice. I recommend doing the big bus tour.
Okay.
Big bus tours are awesome. Those hop on, hop off bus tours.
Yeah, that's been suggested, and that's something that we're probably going to end up doing the first day, because it's going to kind of give us a go around, and we might see other stuff that we want to do.
Right. Definitely do the British Museum. We did the British Museum. We were there for one day. And it was suggested that if you're going to be there for one day, you got to do the museum. You can't do the museum all in one day, but it really is it's amazing to walk through there and see all the things they stole
from Egypt.
And all the different artifacts
and wherever else. Yeah,
right. It's really amazing and a lot of cool exhibits. So I recommend doing that and checking that out. And then, of course, there's all hit the hot. Have you ever been to London before?
Have not.
You definitely want to check out some of the hot spots. I have a friend. I have a few friends over in London. You remember the interview with Bree and Sam? They're in Tring, England. And then our friends Alex and Joe Lakey are there in Cheshire. And my friend Harry and her husband are there. Their husband, excuse me, are there in. I think they're in London, or just outside London, really, really close. And they're in a punk band. If you like punk music, they may be performing while you're there. They have a band called Split Dogs. Shout out to Split Dogs. They're getting well known. It's pretty amazing. I love seeing friends succeed and blow up, and especially people who do music in their band. Like that's pretty awesome. So shout out to Harry. I'm definitely have to get them on the podcast and talk, because Harry and I did Evil Dead the musical.
Oh yeah,
together. That's where we met, and it's our window was very brief. Our time together in Vegas was very, very brief, but lifelong friends can happen from very brief encounters, which I like.
So well, look, until we started this podcast, we had only been in the same room together and hadn't even actually met, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't know that much more counter than that.
Right. Exactly. You really can't. I mean, you can pass by, somebody walking on the street. That's about as brief as you can get. Passing by somebody in a car going the opposite direction.
Right.
Yeah, but let's chop it up. Let's get into it. So Fallout. And spoiler warning, if you haven't watched the series and you plan to watch the series, we're going to get deep into the series. So I recommend maybe I'll play some music underneath it. Nah. Just know that this transition music here, this one on there'll be spoilers, and I'll stop it after. I'll play it again. We're done talking. So you watch Fallout.
And for anybody who's watching this, we're gonna put this on in the background while we're talking about Fallout, just because it's here, and then we'll maybe remember to flip back to the other one. Maybe we'll see. Yeah. So the cool thing about this conversation is that we are entering the watching of this show from completely different perspectives. I have played many of the games. You had at the time played none.
Never played a one. Not a one.
So my background into Fallout has been through Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. I'm trying to think of the order of these. I believe Fallout Shelter, which is an app-based game.
Right.
Fallout 76, which is a multiplayer online game. So there are not very many like NPCs that you can have dialogue with. Like there's enemies that, and ghouls and stuff like that you can and whatever that you can kill and whatnot, but no NPCs really that you can interact with. And that may have changed because I have not played Fallout 76 in a handful of years. And then Fallout 4, which I believe you've started to play.
That's where I just started with Fallout 4, right?
I've extensively played all of those games that I just kind of mentioned to you. The two outlier ones that don't really have much to do with the quote unquote story are Fallout Shelter, because it's just kind of a build this vault and add rooms to it and keep everybody alive. Right. There's not a story to it, although having picked it back up because of course you watch this movie and then or the show and then you start getting the itch to get back
to reminisce that, be in that world.
They have expanded that game since the first time I had played it to include submissions and stuff. But again, it's an app game, so there's really only so far you can go with it. Last time I played Fallout 76 was when they first released it. So we're talking about probably like 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. There was no storyline whatsoever because there were no NPCs. So
the Fallout 76 was just the multiplayer, right?
76, was just that multiplayer online thing, which again, I know that it has changed a whole lot since I last played it.
2018.
So 6 years ago. Whereas, the story that is, that overlays the story from Fallout, the TV series, I think that there's a canon and some relevant overlapping chronology. They're in the same world, so to speak. And so like Fallout 3 is based in DC and the surrounding areas. Fallout New Vegas is in, Prim and the Strip and areas,
that part of Nevada,
Southern California.
Nevada.
Yeah. Fallout 4 is up in the New England area, like Boston and that kind of area.
Right.
I guess Philly or somewhere near Philly is where the show
takes place. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the show actually covers a lot of the US. The vault is in Philly, but like the ghouls storyline is in initially in California. They show Los Angeles. Actually no, the show's set in Los Angeles. Because when she comes out of the vault, she sees the Santa Monica Pier.
Then how are they? So they travel across the world or the US? Or is
Philly is not Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought the same thing too, but Philly's not Philadelphia. It's just a place called Philly.
Now I want to look this up. I'm not that I don't believe you. Let's see, what is it? Vault 31, 32, and 33. So the movie's cool because it's so basically like it really kind of peeled back and added a lot of depth to the story that I was kind of becoming a part of, because when you play these games, they're somewhat isolated and they're within the same concept. And you begin to you really feel, because again, most people, I assume, myself being somebody who certainly gets to a point in a game where you just start mad scrolling through dialogue boxes and you don't read all the shit, because you know that if you're going through a screen or you're reading a note or whatever that prompts some sort of a mission, that mission's going to show up in your dashboard and there's going to be a pin on the map and all that other shit. So you don't really need to read it. If you want the story, you probably should, because there's
apparently, unlike a lot of people, I read every fucking thing.
So you're the difference there, at least for me. So I would say that I mean, I guess you get shades of this in Fallout 3 with this indication and kind of understanding that there is a degree to which these vaults are set up with they're not just to keep you from nuclear fallout and have you sustain life, but there are experiments so to speak, that are happening within these vaults. And there is some degree to which each vault has a different set of conditions, so to speak. And clearly that's happening in the show where there are 3 interconnected vaults. And the assumption is that there are live people operating in each of the 3 vaults. They're interconnected, but they're separate. So there are only like once every 3 years that somebody will travel from one vault to the next, and there is no real communication between these vaults. Other than
initially, that's the premise.
Well, through the overseers, the overseers can communicate with each other, but that's about it. How deep of a spoiler are we getting into this?
I said spoilers. We can get into the weeds. We can talk about the fact that this is what I'm learning about Fallout, right? As a non-gamer, not understanding, is that every vault is an experiment,
right?
And so not knowing that going in, it was interesting. But hearing about it after I started the series. Right, like, oh, what was the experiment here? What's the experiment there? Oh, very interesting. So, kind of following along the intrigue, I found that a little bit more interesting, I think, maybe than gamers, because gamers already know.
I think that the sharp curve mind fuck was probably more for you, because as the mind fuck was starting to happen for me of the, oh, wait, then you start to kind of reminisce about, oh, there was this in Fallout 4. And, oh, there was the Gek in Fallout 3, which apparently the Gek is a concept throughout all of this. And for anybody who doesn't know, the Gek is an acronym for Garden of Eden Creation Kit. Super nerd time there. It was apparently something that would allow them to turn nothing into, a whole new world. But yeah, there's so there was a lot of gap filling, I guess, into and really connecting these disconnected stories.
I did love that it's a completely new story.
Yes.
Right, that it's not a retelling of one of the games. That it's a new story set within that world. And how genius is it that there are so many vaults around the world? All you have to do another series is just tell a different. You can either follow on with the same characters or do a completely new vault.
Right.
Like I wondered how would the game story wise be different from Fallout to Fallout 2 to Fallout 3 to Fallout New Vegas to Fallout 4. Like, when I downloaded Fallout 4, my thought was, well, did I need to play 3 to get a part of the storyline? And then watching the series and learned the series was its own universe. I said, no, you don't. All you need to do is follow one vault.
Yeah.
Or a couple of vaults. And then and that story can be encapsulated in that. You can retell some of the same storylines, right? Of when the bombs fell, and when the desecration of human nation and all that kind of stuff. And then it's genius. You can have as many vaults as you need to keep the story going.
Yeah. And obviously you're playing the game of the one with the 200-year gap. Now Fallout, the movie, I keep calling it a movie.
The series.
The show exists in that, what I think is around that same time frame, but that's a generational thing that has caused that to extend the timeline. Whereas
I know the series takes out after the first bombs drop. The series takes place 219 years after.
Right.
And then so does Fallout 4. So they're kind of following Fallout 4's timeline aspects, but in that specific world.
But yeah, like you said, there are vaults everywhere. So the ability for them to be like, hey, you know, what is the theme of the experiment for a vault that may have been in Minnesota, Texas,
Minnesota, right.
whatever, it doesn't matter. Boom, let's do that one. And they can do that as a video game or as another episode or season of the series. And I'm interested to see when they come out with, because it's already been greenlit for a second season.
Right.
Do they extend these characters, or they do it more like some of those series? I'm trying to think of the name of one. True Detective? Is that one?
Yes, True Detective, where each series, and Fargo.
Fargo is? Okay.
Yeah.
And I think American Horror Story might be that way as well, which I've never seen American
Horror
Story.
Every series is its own encapsulated.
Right. There's a story within the season, and that story comes, full stop at the end, at least from what we're ever going to see. I'm interested to see which direction that they go with it, because I can see it going either way, because it took a little while for them to develop these three characters, but it was very clear that, hey, there's three characters here that we are going to develop and give you kind of the parallel storylines, and then eventually they're going to converge.
Right.
So
they separate again at the end. But I'm pretty sure, and I think, you have the possibility of incorporating, because at the end, the ghoul and the girl, whose name I can't remember,
Lucy,
go together to New Vegas, right? It's my understanding that the skyline they saw at the end of the series was New Vegas. And then Marcus is set up to be a knight with the Brotherhood of Steel, right? Who amazingly throughout the entire series, reluctantly, one, got his face hit more times than any other character in the entire show. He got bust in the grill a lot. Like, they loved hitting him in the face. Yeah. Throughout, from the beginning, from the first moment you see him to down near the end of the series, he got bust in the face almost every episode. Who somehow keeps managing to fall upward. So it's interesting to see where his trajectory is now.
Yeah, he's got a weird fucking story to him, and
right.
And so it would be kind of strange to have them just not keep going with that. And of course, you kind of get to like Lucy, despite her flaws, and the ghoul kind of, you're not supposed to like him, but he's kind of that supposed to grow on you character.
Yeah,
they do pretty well.
Well, they made him funny.
Yeah.
And Walter Goggins is a great actor, and they made him funny and gave him a bunch of quips. And one thing, do you ever watch Honest Trailers?
No.
So Honest Trailers is a great YouTube series. If you ever want to go down a fun rabbit hole, start watching those. But they did a Honest Trailer of Fallout series, and they called him Undeadpool.
Oh, it's so perfect.
He had the burnt face, and all he does is make quips and kill people very effectively.
I mean, there's a hole, not really a hole, but there's a missing piece. We now know, I think that my guess is that they're going to extend this story with the next season, because we now know who his wife is, but he hasn't met back up with her ex-wife.
Right.
But the daughter, we haven't found the daughter. We don't know anything about the daughter.
Right. And I'm pretty sure they're going to explore that, because now we know that he's looking for his family.
Right. We do at least kind of, we can infer perhaps that the daughter was with him. So maybe the daughter didn't survive. Because again, they're doing that party, the daughter's with him. Right. Bombs get dropped, they start to run,
Yeah, but he did say, "Where's my family?" and not "Where's my wife?"
Right.
So yeah, I'm assuming
disconnect between the bombs dropping and them riding away on the horse, and then obviously 19 years later.
219 years. My speculation brain says he made it back, connected with, because they had a vault.
Yeah.
He at least knows they have a vault, so I'm sure somehow he made it. We got to find out deeper back in his story how he became a ghoul. How how is he also alive all these years but it's all fucked up. Whereas the other people who have been alive all those years were cryogenically frozen and have been recently thawed out to run a vault. Yeah, so it was a pretty awesome show. I think we're now entering the golden age of video game translations.
They
into
did a good
series and
job with
movies.
this one. I mean, there was a period of early episodes where you kind of got the feeling like, and you may not have gotten this feeling having not played the game, but if you were one that had played all of the games, where it's like, oh, they felt like they needed to create an opportunity to show us somebody using a stim pack. Oh, look, here's some of the food that we've become accustomed to. Oh,
I did kind of get that feeling, even having never played the games. There were some very strong video game elements.
Almost like product placement, except the products don't exist other than in the game.
Other than in the game, correct. Yeah.
And it was kind of like, okay.
And the fact that they made Walter Goggins the attaboy, or whatever that character's name is. The thumbs up.
Vault Boy.
Yeah. The Vault Boy. Vault-Tec mascot. Vaulty. Vaultino. Yeah. So if you're still listening and not the spoilers, if you haven't watched Fallout, do it. It's a really good show.
Even if you've never played the games, Big Sexy is a good testament to how they will definitely suck you in. Hey, look, I remembered to put it back.
Coming back from the spoilers. And that was a pretty long spoiler. So if you didn't want any spoilers, you only get a very short episode.
That's right. You get the whole episode. You should probably watch the series first and then come back and watch the rest of the episode.
Yeah, bookmark this episode and go watch the series and then come back and hear us chop it up and then chime in with your own thoughts about the series. Pretty awesome. So you leave in a week. You excited?
Yeah. I mean, other than the fact that I haven't packed, but I don't give a shit about that.
Right. Your wife apparently is very excited.
So I was looking at but she's normally like that, where she'll pack way ahead of time or whatnot. And so I was looking online about the Egyptian currency, and I figured out what it would take to be an Egyptian millionaire. Their money is so devalued right now that 25 grand US is over $1 million Egyptian pounds.
Ooh, I'd love to become an Egyptian millionaire. I mean, one, it would mean that I have $25,000, but still.
I don't know what that buys you in Egypt. It's not like I went to realtor.com and said, hey, how much is, a condo in Cairo? But
still, I mean, it'd be nice if you say I'm a millionaire somewhere, even if it's in different currency.
Yeah.
Which I understand, like in some other countries, that's already the case, even if I have a couple thousand in the bank. Yeah, you're rich in that country, which is, I want to find those countries that are also sustainable to. There's that cross pattern. Yeah, I would. Becoming an Egyptian millionaire initially sounds like a lofty goal. Sounds like a great pickup line. Hey, baby, I'm a millionaire.
Yep.
In Egypt. Yeah, get with an Egyptian millionaire. I'll sphinx your pyramid. I don't know what that is.
Egypt's Texas.
What are you looking up?
I'm trying to look up Cairo
To find out what the cost of living is, how much a house is in Cairo.
Yeah.
Do they have Egyptian Zillow?
That's what I'm trying to find out. Oh, it's not this, it doesn't mean much. There's a bunch of, these are villas. You can get a townhouse. I don't know where this is. New Cairo. I don't know what that means, for like 13 million.
Okay. So you gotta have real money. You still gotta have real money to buy stuff.
What is this? This must be a rental.
I love the judgments of looking stuff on. You got to talk it out. This is a podcast.
Yeah. I'm just there's so many different things here. I don't know where anywhere it is, so that doesn't really help. But like a 2-family house, 6 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms is they're doing a conversion here. 7.5 million Egyptian pounds, which is 156,000, almost 157,000 US dollars. I don't know where you could buy a 6-bedroom house in the States for $150,000. So
I know a place, but you don't want to live there.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and you want like what the 6 bedrooms have in them.
This place looks like it's gutted though.
Right. So it sounds like even though we're Egyptian millionaires, we're not buying property in Egypt.
Well, I mean, I wasn't looking to do that anyway, but
you never gotta be,
I'm sure it's going to be a fun trip, but I don't know that I'm looking to stay there. I don't know that I'm looking to stay in London. So,
right. London's going to be a lot more expensive than Egypt.
Yeah.
Just know that going in. The exchange rate is terrible. I mean, it's not in our favor. Speaking of Australians who come over and visit, the Giovanazzi's are in California right now.
Yes. And Wade is excited because his comic is in Disneyland, which I would.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the post, I'm like, oh, that's pretty kick-ass. That's pretty kick-ass to have something you did on display, not just there, but like on display in a place like Disney. That's pretty cool. I'm really proud of them and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm hoping they leave on Sunday, going directly from Anaheim to Vegas. I have a funeral to go to on Saturday. I'm seeing a play tomorrow. Today's Thursday of this recording. And Anaheim's a bit farther to get to. I was hoping I could, meet up something to say hi and kick it. But I don't think it's going to work out, which just sucks, man. It just sucks that, people from so far are so close and still so far.
Yeah.
Just blows. But I did send them an invitation. We're having a safe travels party on Cinco de Mayo here in Riverside at my mom's casa. And so I did send them an invite. So, if they're feeling foggy and they want to, make a slight detour, I said it'd be about an hour detour to stop by and say, hey, if they're not too tired I'm pretty sure they're just going to go straight to Vegas. I know if I were them and I was looking forward to getting to Scoop Fest, then that.
Well, they also probably have accommodations lined up. I think that they had most of their hotel stays locked in, except for.
I'm absolutely sure of it. Yeah.
Some weird 3-day gap that they were having an issue with, which I'm sure they've resolved by now.
Right. So, shout out to Wayne who won our whiskey barbecue ticket, and his lovely wife Kez. Shout out to them. Travel safely through California. It's funny. My wife. Hello. My wife often says Californians speak the same, and the way we talk is in freeways. Like 2 Californians get together, eventually they'll start talking about what freeways you take to get where, and it's true. We just do. We start talking about, you're going to take the 10 to the 15, you'll swing over to the 215, maybe swing around the 210, cross over the Cajon Pass, and she goes, every time California get to me, that's how you guys talk. And as I'm thinking about Kez and Wayne traveling to Vegas, my thoughts go to that. Well, they're going to probably take the 91 to the 15, and if they take the 15, they can just get off on take the 15 to the 60, swing the 60 over, say hi, and then get back on the road. But that's how my brain works now. Actually, they're coming from Anaheim, so actually what they really would do, take the 91 all the way in, and the 91 turns into the 215. Yeah, you're welcome.
And that was another edition of Navigating Southern California.
Yeah, California freeway numbers that mean absolutely nothing to nobody who ain't in California.
That's right.
Yeah, so you got any big shows coming up? Any big plans
before
you leave?
So much stuff. I don't have any shows before I leave, so there's really not. I'm kind of May is Egypt, London, recover.
Got it.
We've got what should be a very big show. It's a fundraiser show for a gal who is who's fighting stage 4 cervical cancer. So we're doing a benefit show for her on her behalf, and so we've got a couple other benefit shows coming up. We're doing another one for a nonprofit in August. I think that I have formally on this show announced the Rochester Fringe Fest run. Those tickets will probably be available by the time or around the time that I get back from Egypt. Maybe not, maybe shortly thereafter.
And I saw your poster for it. You posted.
Yeah. So that if you're not following that Patreon, that's kind of the initial draft. It's kind of made a few changes, but if you're looking at that initial draft on the Between Two Minds Patreon, which is also free to join, it's very close to that. We've just tweaked it to look a little better. But that's going to be fun. We're working on. So I've put this offer out there to folks about us doing shows for nonprofits. If you've got one in your area, that whole offer and endeavor is evolving rapidly to the point where now we're doing more. I've got somebody that is joining the team to basically sell sponsorships for those shows. So obviously we get a percentage of that. That way that person gets paid to do what they're doing. But ultimately we're offering less work for the nonprofit, and ultimately we just hand them a check at the end. So they'll line up a venue. They'll need some people to staff it, to check people in or whatnot. Obviously it's beneficial for them to promote and sell general admission tickets, but we're going to fill probably a good third of those tickets through sponsorships, and they're going to get a lot more money by doing so. So now the offering, nothing of course is guaranteed because ticket price and venue size and whatever is important, but most organizations should be able to profit somewhere between $10,000 and $25,000 doing one of these shows.
Nice.
And you don't have to, now those organizations will not have to dedicate a member of their staff that they're paying hourly, if they even have this staff member, to sell sponsorships. We'll handle all that for them. And I've kind of, this idea has evolved and developed through workshopping it with a couple of executive directors of local nonprofits that I know pretty well, and really just wanting these things to be more successful for the groups that we're working with. And, we did a show, it was last week. We did a show for a local high school marching band, and it went well. They raised, somewhere between, I don't know the exact total because the money runs through them, but they raised somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000, which is great. Their goal was
That's not bad for a high school marching band.
No, not at all. Their goal was to raise $5,000, but I looked around that room being like, we could have done better for these folks. So, some of it comes from really wanting to work full rooms. Some of it wants to come from, hey, right now we're helping people raise anywhere between a couple grand to $5,000, maybe $10,000, right?
And you're just starting out, right?
Yes, yeah. So adding it and making it better is great. Whereas, with the annual goal for 2024 to help these nonprofits raise $100,000 collectively, that's 10 shows at the peak of what I estimate the ability for these groups to raise with the old setup. Now, with me bringing somebody on that eventually is going to be full-time selling these sponsorships, the goal is to make $10,000 the floor and $25,000 the ceiling. So now doing 10 shows in a year where we hit the ceiling, that's $250,000. We could start raising $1 million a year for organizations. That's
the goal.
You're making some real change there. That's probably the 2026 goal. But if the goal for 24 is to help these groups raise $100,000 collectively, then there's no reason to not make the goal in 25 $250,000. And then by that point in time, we'll have everything, as a well-oiled machine to the point where $1 million is certainly doable for 2026. The other thing that's setting this up, this is super exciting, that allows us to potentially do is, so part of what's going to happen here over the next couple of weeks is we're starting a nonprofit that is going to be the vehicle that runs all of this. That way, all of it is, any donor money is going to a nonprofit that will feed it to another nonprofit. it's going to open the door to more sponsors. It's going to make things a lot easier as far as the logistics of where the money's going. We end up saving a lot of fees when it comes to
right.
processing and the ticket sales sites and all that other stuff, because there are, not to say that I don't like the ticket sales site that I'm using now. I think it's fantastic, but there are some ticket sales sites that are geared toward nonprofits that basically just do them with no fees and help save a lot of money. And, you know, what it allows us to do is eventually scale the concept and start providing the type of work for other entertainers where they're making more money per gig and doing good as well. So, you know, I would imagine being able to book some of these shows for somebody like Matt Donnelly, where he's making twice what he's making, if not more than twice what he's making in most of the gigs that he's doing now, doing basically the same show.
That'll be awesome. Although you know, Matt Donnelly is like blowing up. He's getting bigger and bigger, which is really awesome. Shout out to Matt Donnelly, the mind noodler, who's doing very well. You know, I was the entertainment director entertainment director for a nonprofit in Vegas called Ants in the Pants Productions. Shout out to Ants in the Pants Productions. And the nonprofits are not easy to run, but we did. Have I talked about Ants in the Pants on the show? I don't know. We taught children how to write short stories and then perform those short stories for them. We turn them into sketches and songs and stuff like that. I'm sure I've mentioned it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well, ideally, what I like to do is do Ants in the Pants in Spain, or Ants in the Pantaloons. And I don't know how to say ants in Spanish yet, because my Duolingo hasn't gotten to animals, except for perros and gatos. I know dogs and cats, but
Formiga.
You know what? I do know that in Portuguese. In Portuguese, they did talk about ants. That does sound familiar in Portuguese. Or close to it, yes. So, and for amigas or amigas? Hormigas in Los Pantalones is the Ants in the Pants nonprofit that I was a part of. So I'm actually hoping, you know, once we get established and locked in Spain, if fingers crossed that happens, then I can start that back up and do the Spanish version of that and teach kids teach kids English, how to create and write small stories in English, and do that as an English instructor.
Yeah.
Right? And then turn and my forte is turning kids, you know, stories into songs. And so creating songs for them, and maybe finding some other entertainers and performers and making little sketches and, you know, skits like that. There's some improv companies, programs out in Malaga and in Spain that I'm a part of as well. So I do have a source for actors to get involved. And I interviewed an actor, you know, shout out to my friend Mar, who I interviewed here on the podcast a while ago. There is Something in the Chaos is that episode title. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that whole fingers crossed that I'm able to put that together and do that, and then get that up and running. So I need to get back. I need to get back on stage, and I need to get back doing something that benefits community. Like those things give me joy and happiness. And then I need to start teaching, and I need to start coaching, and I need to start more workshops to get more income. Those are the three things that I need: performance, outreach, and income. That'll make a very happy Big Sexy.
Hell yeah.
You know what else will make a very happy Big Sexy? Going on another cruise.
Yeah.
And I know that when I look up information on cruises, I swing myself on over to our sponsor, cruisehabit.com.
Whatever you imagine when you think of cruising might be both right and wrong, because cruising isn't one thing. I'm Bill from cruisehabit.com, and I'm a digital nomad working from ship and shore who loves sharing information to make sure people take the right cruises for them. Follow our adventures, enjoy tip videos, ship tours, and more in print and on our YouTube channel. Just visit cruisehabit.com/BSDN. We even host group cruises where you can cruise with us and get special treatment. Again, that's cruisehabit.com/BSDN or cruisehabit.com/bigsexy, whatever you'll remember.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Billy. Yeah, absolutely. So go over to cruisehabit.com. We appreciate their sponsorship. And speaking of sponsorship, it's the first recording of the month. And do you have our list of our Patreon folks that we need to thank?
I might.
Go ahead and pull that list up and let's get some shout outs.
I was gonna pretend like I was doing it from memory, but it is sitting right here. We got Scoop Jesus, Estifix. You do it.
It's Aesthetics.
Yeah, that one. Galen, I'll get it one of these days. Galen Diggs, Jen, Tess, Joe Smith, Rainbow, Dreamcatcher, The Love Podcast, Billy from cruisehabit.com, Margaret White, Spitty Scoop, Angel Bree, Chris Lowry from gowithlisa.com. That's right. Our friendly travel agent, Michael McKenna Lee, Popsicle Sebastian Robbins, who I will probably see in London, and Joshua Tarr. Guys, we are getting really close to this being probably extended to 2 pages. So tell a friend. Again, no shame in the game. Have them join the free tier to be part of the podcast, get alerts on stuff that we're doing, everything like that. And, that they just, if anything, you get an excuse to go tell them to go to bullwiththebutthole.com. They're at the same time. I knew it was going to happen eventually.
Eventually, yes. We both have access to the buttons.
That's right. Yeah, well, that's the problem. When we both have the button, everything blows up. Kaboom. Oh,
boom. Just in case, that was bullwiththebutthole.com to join the Patreon. Or you can just tell them to go to www.patreon.com/bigsexydigitalnomad. But I'm going to come on, let's be real. Bullwiththebutthole.com is much more fun to say.
That's right.
And yes, be sure to send them over. Swing on over to our merch store at whereisbigsexy.com. Go check out our merch. You have that, and you get cool Big Sexy Digital Nomad t-shirts, swag. There's also some Rainbow Dreamcatcher swag there as well. Shout out to our friend Brogan, who does all of Big Sexy Digital Nomad's artwork. And so far, if any artists out there would like to take a swing at some Big Sexy Digital Nomad artwork that we can promote for you, do so. You have our permission to utilize our likeness and in your art, as long as we get to sell it, and we can work out whatever that means for you. But yeah,
also, one last thing, and this is me admitting to being the bad guy sort of here. Anybody who won one of our contests and is waiting for a t-shirt, don't wait, okay? I realized that I screwed up. I dropped the ball. I came back to TeePublic and realized that all the shit that I had in the cart to buy from the contests, still in the cart. So I never pressed buy, and now everything's off sale. So it's still sitting in the cart until it gets cheap again, and then I'll order it. So you're going to get your stuff, just not in time for being in Vegas if you're going to be in Vegas next week. Right. My apologies.
But, that doesn't mean you can't swing on over to whereisbigsexy.com and buy yourself an extra shirt or something and have them express mail it to you so you have it in time if you're headed to Scoop Fest, or if you just want to wear it around town. Appreciate it. Also, I don't know if you guys have heard the bonus episodes, the one I did with Journeyman Jesus, or just the regular episode we did a couple weeks ago with our friend Elise. Both of those were listeners of the podcast, which shows we have listeners as guests on the podcast. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, hit us up. Go to bigsexynomad@gmail.com and send us a message, say you'd like to be on the podcast, and we'll find out time to get you on. And we'll talk about, if you have stories of travel or anything like that, feel free to hit us up there. Or, just send us an email. If you have a fun travel story, you want us to read it on air, we'd be happy to do so. We don't have any emails that we need to read, so we would love to get some of that, some listener mail. It would be very helpful. We appreciate it. Or you can send us a voice message. Go on over to prankcall.me, or like I said, go to bigsexynomad.com. They'll take you directly to our Spotify. We can leave a voice message there. Anything else we need to mention to our fine folks there?
Anybody who's looking to see one of my shows, betweentwominds.com or judgmentalist.com, they're relatively constantly updated at times in which tickets become available. I will post in the Patreon the Rochester Fringe poster as well. So you can at least mark your calendar on those dates, because those are not on those aren't on my website or on those websites quite yet, only because the ticket sales aren't available. So once they are, that'll go there. Although they may end up there sooner rather than later, because I did give Scoop Neon Black the dates and the details. So
Nice.
sometimes I give him those early, and he gets them up before the ticket link is even available, because that's obviously something out of my control.
Right. Awesome. Well, yeah, definitely check that out. And a shout out to anybody who joined us at the live. This is probably the largest live count we've had. Thank you guys for joining in. Appreciate y'all. Again, don't ever hesitate to give comments and talk while we're doing this live. And then this episode will officially drop next Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. But without any further ado, we appreciate y'all coming in. And in the meantime, safe travel.